Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for your time and your interest in hearing about phonics. It's lovely to see so many people attending this webinar. I might start by introducing myself. I'm Pam McClay and I'm an OUP primary consultant, and I'm also the National Phonics Specialist. I'd like to start by telling you a couple of things about Oxford University Press that you may not know. We are a not-for-profit organisation. Oxford University Press is a department of Oxford University, and our mission is to create world-class educational resources and make them available as widely as possible, furthering the university's objectives of excellence in scholarship, research and education. In this webinar, we're going to look at why phonics is important in the teaching of reading, the research to date and the phonics screening check, and then we'll get down to what OUP resources we have available for you to use in your classrooms and with your students. Today, we'll be looking at systematic synthetic phonics teaching programs. You may be looking to change the way you teach phonics at your school or just in your own classroom. At Oxford, we understand that for every child in your school to read successfully, they need to have a strong phonic knowledge, recognising each of the graphemes, decoding and blending effortlessly and reading with fluency and expression. Our range of phonics resources will help your students embed these phonics skills and develop a love of reading. Why do we need phonics? Well, English is a complex language which has always been open to influences from other cultures. So we've borrowed words over the centuries from many other languages, making our own much harder to learn to read, write and spell. Let's compare learning Spanish to learning English. Both languages have 26 letters in the alphabet. However, Spanish has 24 phonemes or speech sounds and 29 graphemes or ways of writing those sounds, and words are pronounced exactly as they are written. That's not so confusing. In contrast to English, which has 26 letters in the alphabet, 44 speech sounds and a whopping 250 plus ways of making those sounds. So as an example, let's look here at the E sound. Here are 11 different ways of writing the E sound. Green, happy, neat, me, ski, believe, phoenix, key, and algae. Especially look at the potential confusion over the E sound in believe and receive, and again in key and key. No wonder spell check is so popular. Unlike speech, reading is not an innate developmental function, and there's no single area of the brain devoted to reading. Making sense of written texts requires establishing connections between areas of the brain that are developed for different cognitive purposes. Reading needs to be taught. For those of you that have been around a while, like me, you'll know that education pedagogy has long been debated. It's often controversial. So where are we in educational research today? You probably all have heard something about the so-called reading wars, which have raged actually for over 200 years, and that there are many approaches to teaching reading. I'd like to share with you an excerpt from a paper by Anne Castles, Kathleen Rassel and Kate Nation. They present a comprehensive review of the science of learning to read, and as part of this they explain why phonics instruction is so central to learning in a writing system such as English. They argue that the quality and scope of scientific evidence today means that the reading wars should be over, but strong debate and resistance to using methods based on scientific evidence persists. They argue that cracking the alphabetic code is essential for learning to read, and that assisting children to do so is a non-negotiable part of teaching them to read. It is this initial knowledge of spelling sound relationships that allows children to access the meanings of printed words and thus gain the text experience that is essential for the acquisition of higher level reading skills. And that the evidence from performance on the phonics screening check suggests fairly dramatic year-over-year improvements in children's phonic knowledge since 2012. On your New South Wales education website, actually, there's a really informative conversation with Anne Castles about systematic and explicit instruction of phonics, explaining all aspects of teaching reading and where phonics fits. It's well worth a listen if you've got the time. And Jennifer Buckingham says it very simply as well. While it is fair to argue that researchers should investigate new practices, it is irresponsible to suggest that classroom teachers use anything other than methods based on the best evidence to date, and that evidence favours systematic phonics. At Oxford University Press, or as Oxford University Press, we support all teachers with the approach they want to take. But we're here today to look at the latest research into cracking the alphabetic code and the benefits that taking a systematic synthetic phonics approach can offer, especially in the early years. So the vast body of evidence-based and peer-reviewed education research has led us to this point where Desley Konza says, the empirical evidence currently available supports a synthetic approach to teaching phonics for beginning and struggling readers. A synthetic approach teaches the single letters and common letter combinations in a discrete, systematic and explicit manner, and in an order that facilitates blending from the first weeks of school. And I really like this quote from Catherine Snow and Connie Jewell. Explicit teaching of alphabetic decoding skills is helpful for all children, harmful for none, and crucial for some. So it's important to state here that the broad term systematic phonics describes practices for the teaching of decoding and word reading. It's not intended to be a teacher's entire approach to reading instruction or literacy more generally. So systematic means the order of teaching the sound grapheme correspondences or the alphabetic code so that none are missed. Synthetic refers to the synthesis or blending of those sounds after sounding out graphemes from left to right. This is decoding from print to speech. And phonics is the relationship between sounds and written symbols with no context clues and no guessing. So for example, to read the word hatch, we have to recognise the graphemes, and then we have to translate the graphemes into phonemes, hatch, and then we have to synthesise or blend those phonemes together to form the word hatch. From here on in, I'm going to refer to this as SSP because systematic synthetic phonics is so hard to get your tongue around. So I hope you follow me. So effective teachers use a multi-pronged approach to teaching reading, with synthetic phonics being a critical part, especially at the beginning of the student's journey to fluent reading. Here I've highlighted how phonics is intertwined with the other five key reading skills. Phonemic awareness is a vital reading skill because it allows students to identify distinct sounds in speech, those phonemes that they're going to come across in phonics. Fluent readers are able to focus on reading for meaning because their decoding is automatic and effortless, and reading comprehension is almost entirely dependent on both decoding and vocabulary. Now let's move on to the phonics screening check. So what is it? It's a simple 5 to 7 minute assessment that tells teachers how their students are progressing in phonics. It consists of 40 words which are delivered through a mixture of 20 real words and 20 pseudo words. An expected achievement score of 28 out of 40 is used as a marker to assist teachers in identifying how a student is tracking against the Australian curriculum at this point in their education. It was implemented in the UK in 2012 and implemented in South Australia in 2018. And you, of course, have had a trial in New South Wales this year. Let's have a look at the South Australian experience. The trial was held in 2017, involving 56 schools, 268 teachers and about 4,000 students. The purpose of the trial was to understand the usefulness of the check for school leaders and teachers with regards to their students' phonic development. The trial showed that not only did children enjoy it, but that it was straightforward to do. Overall, principals and teachers thought that the check had the potential to improve phonics teaching. So in 2018, the phonics screening check was implemented for all Year 1 students in government schools in South Australia. 43% of students met the expected achievement of correctly decoding 28 words out of 40 in that year. In the 2019 phonics screening check, there was statewide improvement in the ability of Year 1 students to decode. 52% of Year 1 students scored at or above the expected achievement, up 9 percentage points from 2018. And this was a fantastic result for the first year in South Australia, where for many years reading results have been pretty poor. For many teachers and leaders, the first PSC was a real eye-opener, with some expressing surprise and disappointment about the results, particularly for students they had identified as strong readers. It was deemed effective by leaders for initiating conversations about the results and getting early learning teams to think and talk about their direct teaching methodology and whether their approaches were working to maximum potential. Teachers, however, identified a lack of training, information and resources addressed to the where next. So how are South Australian teachers feeling a couple of years on? Well, many say their school now has an F2 strategy for teaching students to read, that they are more targeted in their approach to teaching reading and that they feel much more confident teaching systematic phonics. They're supported now by a huge range of evidence-based resources. They say their students love the one-on-one time with them while doing the PSC, and most importantly, they are achieving success in teaching reading. As discussed, there are a number of different approaches to teaching phonics, all with varying levels of effectiveness. But the evidence is clear that systematic synthetic phonics is the most effective approach. We're going to look at the SSP programs offered by Oxford University Press. We have 3: Floppy's Phonics Teaching Program, Read Write Inc, and a Project X Code. We'll start by looking at Floppy's Phonics Teaching Program. Floppy's Phonics is a well-known, much-loved and proven synthetic phonics program authored by Debbie Hepplewhite. The rigorous teaching program has been comprehensively updated to reflect the latest research in phonics teaching practice. It provides teachers with a complete package of resources for planning, classroom implementation and assessment in an easy to understand and practical format. It's aligned to sounds and letters. It's easy to implement and supports teachers with all levels of experience. Well-structured, carefully paced lessons follow a systematic teaching sequence, ensuring consistency in your phonics teaching. Its humorous and engaging print and online resources support students with new sounds and revision of known sounds and letters. These fully decodable books offer children practice that's matched to their phonic knowledge. Floppy's Phonics Teaching Program is available in 2 value packs, one for Foundation and one for Year 1. The teaching handbook at each level includes a guide to the alphabetic code, an explanation of the Floppy's Phonics mnemonic system, or the little memory aids, a step-by-step guidance for each lesson and activity sheets for every level of Floppy Phonics. 72 flashcards help teach new sounds and graphemes, and you can display the alphabetic code chart and freeze in the classroom to support your phonics teaching. The program includes 48 engaging texts featuring the much-loved characters Biff, Chip, Kipper and Floppy, the dog. Each student book has a paired activity sheet and grapheme tiles designed for practice and revision of sounds and letters. Online teaching support and the all-new interactive e-books with audio to play to your class make phonics fun. This image explains the teaching sequence for Floppy's Phonics Teaching Program and how the resources can be used in your classroom. And we're going to watch a short video unpacking the contents of the value packs.
Look.
Our second SSP is Read Writing Phonics, written by Ruth Miskin, and it's a comprehensive literacy program for children between the ages of 4 and 9 who are learning to read. Our trainers know how to get every child in your school reading, and our core purpose is to give you the skills and confidence to do this too. Read writing is phonics first and fast, as the research suggests. This is the most effective approach to teaching students to read. Each student is met at their point of need and progress at their own rate, not held back waiting for others in the group. Many students learn to read very quickly using Read Write Inc. Students learn the sound and how to form it or write it at the same time, and blending is introduced early. Instruction is systematic and sequential, building up from the simplest and most common phonemes to the more complex and less common. The phonics sequence is carefully planned for minimal confusion and to achieve decoding quickly. You teach students one way to write all of the 44 sounds in the English language so they can write anything they want to say very early on, and then go on to teach them alternative ways of writing those sounds. However, Read Writing Phonics is so much more. Each 60-minute lesson incorporates comprehension, writing, grammar, spelling, vocab, and handwriting. In Read Writing, we use clever mnemonics or memory aids. We draw a picture inside each letter. For example, we make H into the shape of a horse and J into the shape of a jack-in-a-box. These picture cues help all children, especially slower starters, learn the sounds easily. So why does Read Writing Phonics work so well? Well, it's about differentiation. It's about grouping students according to their need. And in this video, Ruth Miskin explains why Read Writing Phonics is different from other SSP programs.
The only way you're going to get your children to read in this school is if they read every single day at their level for 20 minutes. What are you going to say to me? Get real, aren't you? But you can do it. You absolutely can do it, and that's what it's to do with organisation. Just put children who are at the same level in the group, irrespective of their age. The point I'm making is, if you group your children really sensibly into groups, you will get your school reading very, very quickly. Group all the children across the school in terms of their reading ability, so they can be taught at their own level every day. The more homogeneous the group, the more focused the teaching and the faster the progress of the children. You can then move children who progress faster than their peers quickly to another group, and organise one-to-one tutoring for those falling behind as soon as possible, so they catch up again quickly. And support children who have special educational needs for however long it takes until they can read. I know I can teach one child to read. If you're at the same level, I can teach you to read, but you're year 1, you're in year 2, you're in year 3, you're in year 4, I'm in a 1 elementary school. I can still teach you 4 to read quite happily. But if you're at a different level, and you're at a different level, and you're at a different level, I just can't do it. You could give me 4 children and I can't do it. You could actually give me 16 children or even 30 children who are at the same level and I could handle it. But if they're all at different levels, I promise you can't handle it. You can also train teaching assistants to take groups, so you can increase the number of groups you have across the school.
So it's also about excellent teacher training. Rather than me talking about it, I'd like to read a quote from Lorna McLean from Littlehampton Primary School. We particularly love that it's more than just a phonics program, but includes guided reading, writing, grammar and punctuation all in the 1 hour lessons. And of course that it starts to differentiate and track student progress immediately, really negating the need for withdrawing students for intervention programs in the early years. We also love that it was a whole school approach focused on training all staff to be great teachers of reading. It's also about the 5 key principles that underpin all read writing lessons. Know the purpose of every activity and share it with the children so they know the one thing that they should be thinking about. Ensure every child participates throughout the lesson. Be passionate about teaching so children can be engaged emotionally. Ensure children are praised for effort and learning, not just ability, and teach at an effective pace and devote every moment of that lesson to teaching and learning. Read Writing has had huge success in the UK, where of the independently judged top 10 schools in the teaching of reading, Read Writing is used in over half. And in Northern Territory here, after much research into evidence-based SSP programs, the Department of Education decided to implement Read Writing in all remote and very remote schools. From there, the word has spread around the country, and to date, over 250 schools use Read Writing with great success in Australia. Here are some of the bright and engaging resources used to teach read writing phonics. There's a teacher kit which has all the resources you will need to teach speed sound lessons, 75 levelled storybooks for story time, and book bag books for perfectly aligned reading practice. Read Writing Fresh Start ensures consistent high quality phonics-based literacy intervention for students in years 5 to 8 who are not reading at an age-appropriate level. Starting with rigorous but easy to use assessment, every child is taught at the right level for them with fun, age-appropriate activities and readers. And we've just got an example here of one of the anthologies. This is really quite a low level one, but you can see it looks pretty cool if you're a student in year 5 or 6 who's been reading about kittens and puppies. You can read Challenge Prof the Boff instead. So that's why it's been so successful. The third SSP program we're going to look at is Project X Code, where students work through 56 books and save the planet. This program is reading intervention for students who've been taught all their phonemes and are still struggling to read at an appropriate level. Let's have a look.
Welcome to Micro World, the best theme park on Earth. Billionaire inventor Macro Marvel has created Micro World, a micro-sized theme park where you have to shrink to get in. But on opening day, as Marvel enters the park, disaster strikes. Minnie, Marvel's daughter, gets a message. Stop code.
Oh no! Dad!
Code, the computer that controls the park and the robots in it, has gone wrong. It wants to shrink the whole world. Soon, Code will have enough power to shoot shrinking rays around the Earth. Millions of people will be made micro-sized. Can Code be stopped? Far away, a warning signal flashes.
This is a massive micro-emergency!
Meet Team X. Max, Cat, Ant, and Tiger. 4 normal kids with 4 amazing watches. Watches that allow them to shrink or grow to any size they want. Team X fight to save the world from danger. Now Team X has a new mission. Together they have to defeat the Bites, collect the code keys, rescue Macro Marvel, stop Code, and save the world. Are you ready for an adventure that will change your life?
We're coming to get you.
Code. Brought to you by Project X.
So as you can see, it's a really cool series which combines phonics and comprehension development in a character adventure series that's perfect for engaging boys. 14 entry and exit points mean that children can start and finish the intervention at a point which is just right for them. It has a unique two-text approach. So in text 1, there's 100% decodable to build confidence and develop vocab, and text 2 is 80% decodable to challenge children and deepen their comprehension. It has comprehensive lesson plans, so the intervention program could easily be run by a teaching assistant, and there's ongoing assessment to accelerate progress. Project X Code has been very successful with students where other programs have failed. In fact, I have a lovely story about a Year 6 boy at a school in Adelaide called William, who was not reading at anywhere near an appropriate level for Year 6 and was terribly embarrassed about it. In fact, his mother had made a reader cover so that other kids couldn't see the babyish readers he was having to take home. So his teacher started him on the Project X journey. And when he'd finished, he was so thrilled with himself that he wrote to me, "Dear Mrs. McClay." He had really enjoyed Project X Code and thanked me for bringing it to the school, and he'd got on the internet and read about a new decodable series from Project X and that had the same characters, and could I bring them to his school when they were published? Well, that brought a tear to my eye, I can assure you, and of course I did take him the books. At this point, I'd like to introduce Jessica Freeman from Port Augusta West Primary School. She's going to talk to us about their school's experience with the phonics screening check in South Australia. Thanks, Jess.
Thanks, Pam. So before our school started or had the phonics screening check introduced to South Australia in 2018, we used a combination of Jolly Phonics and teacher-driven phonics within our junior primary classes. The Jolly Phonics program was not implemented very rigorously, and there was a lot left to teacher judgment. Our school's results for the first phonics screening check in 2018 were very low, and only 13% of our students achieved phonics screening check benchmark. When we took a closer look at the results, it became obvious that students struggled with the pseudo words, indicating that they did not have a strong understanding of the phonemes or the ability to use the learnt phonemes in unfamiliar words. On top of our phonics score, only 9% of our students achieved the department's running record targets for Year 1. This prompted our site to look at how we were teaching phonics and what the advice from the department was telling us. The best advice papers from the Department of Education, South Australia, stated that evidence shows the teaching of beginning and struggling readers using a synthetic systematic phonics approach was the most successful way and aims to build automaticity and confidence. There are a range of systematic synthetic phonics programs available. We looked at schools across our state who were achieving the greatest success and the programs they were using. We chose to implement Read Write Inc. as our science phonics program. Read Write Inc. perfectly encompassed the requirements of a synthetic systematic phonics program, and we liked that it was well designed, rigorously tested, and research-based. It also incorporated reading practice with decodable readers, which were matched to the phonics sequence. This allowed students to practice reading using the phonics they had learnt. As a result of the implementation of Read Write Inc., we saw 52% of our students achieve the phonics screening check benchmark in 2019, the second year of the assessment, and 52% of our students achieved the department's running record targets for Year 1. Through the program, students first learn the most common sounds, followed by the digraphs, trigraphs, and alternative spellings, which become more complex as students move through the program. Once students have learned a collection of sounds, they are taught to blend them together to make words, first orally, then adding the graphemes and reading the words. This process enables students to become confident readers from the beginning. I have a short film of some reception students practicing reading words containing sounds they have learnt 5 weeks into the program. Through Read Write Inc, students are taught to first identify any special friends or digraphs, then to Fred Talk, which is to sound out the word and then blend it together. As they become more confident, they begin to internalise the process, which is called Fred in your head in Read Write Inc. You will see both processes in action in this film. Okay, so we're going to do special friends, Fred Talk, say the word. Are we ready? Special friends, Fred Talk. Well done. Special friends, Fred Talk. Hit, well done. Special friends. Ready, Fred Talk. Amazing. This one I want you to do Fred in your head. Are you ready? Fred in your head. Well done, bed. Fred in your head. Well done. Fish. 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 One more. Get. Well done. Give yourselves a 1, 2, 3. Good job, me.
1, 2, 3. Good job, me.
Well done, guys. As you can see, the systematic synthetic phonics approach has set students up to successfully read simple words. In 2020, we saw similar results in our phonics screening check to the previous year. When we took a deeper dive into the data, we found that in addition to those who had met the benchmark for the phonics screening check, we also had 27% of our students score between 23 and 37 out of 40, just off the benchmark score of 28, which was a huge improvement from last year. We also found that 59% of our students experienced more success with the pseudo words than real words. Pseudo words are included in the phonics screening check because they help develop advanced phonemic awareness and blending skills and are used as a way of assessing students' decoding ability. This indicated to us that as a result of Read Write Inc, which incorporates pseudo words, our students had developed a thorough understanding of the sounds they had learnt and were confident in their ability to blend successfully. The implementation of a systematic synthetic phonics program has meant that students are explicitly taught the phonemes in a systematic way. Within Read Write Inc, students do not progress to the next group until they have a thorough understanding of the phonemes they have been taught and are able to blend them together. This ensures students experience success when reading. Teachers are also able to clearly track students' progress and identify any concerns early on. As students learn more phonemes, they are introduced to slightly longer books which incorporate sounds and tricky words they have learnt. Here is a short film of a group of reception students practicing reading a decodable text. These students have learnt the initial 31 sounds within Read Write Inc and are currently learning the second set of sounds. As you can see in the film, students are working together to sound out words they are stuck on and read the story. In addition to the success in reading, students have been able to transfer their phonic knowledge into their writing. They are able to use the sounds they have learned to attempt to sound out longer words. I have a few examples of students' writing which have been completed both within the Read Write Inc lesson and outside of it. The following film was taken during a Read Write Inc lesson, and in this film you can hear students repeatedly sounding out the words as they write their sentence. I've also included some images of students writing. Within the program, students practice writing the learnt sound as well as some previously taught sounds, and then they practice writing words containing those sounds. They also write a sentence from the decodable book. These become more complex as students progress through the program. Students then write responses to the decodable text. As you can see, this student has underlined the special friends they are including in their writing and has learnt the A sound for the long A vowel in the word baby. In this piece of writing, a reception student has written, "The curious creature was massive and scary and silly. He was mean and he doesn't share. He wanted to have a friend. He had an idea. He's been very nice." This reception student has sounded out and recorded the sounds they could hear. Once students are confident with the correct sound they need to use for each word, they will be corrected. Otherwise, they are left. Students are encouraged to underline special friends within their daily writing to support them to blend and segment more accurately. As students progress and become more confident and the sounds are orthographically mapped, they become less reliant on the support of underlying special friends in their daily writing. This final piece of writing is a comparison of a student's writing sample in March and July. Where there are mistakes in their spelling, you can see he has phonetically attempted to sound out words and recorded the words using the phonemes he has learnt. The piece from July reads, "Once upon a time there was an ice lizard and two twin penguins. The lizard lived in an igloo. The penguins lived in an ice castle. But then a mean wizard came and melted the igloo. The penguins built a stone wall around the castle and told the lizard to come in, and they lived happily ever after." We are also able to track students' errors through the phonics screening check to determine if errors are due to the student incorrectly pronouncing the phoneme or if they have not yet been introduced to the phoneme through Read Write Inc. For example, a word in this year's phonics screening check was brown. We had a group of students incorrectly pronounce the word as brone. When we looked back through the order of the sounds as they are introduced in Read Write Inc, we found that students had learnt O as in blow the snow, not O as in brown cow, which was the correct pronunciation required for the word. This indicated to us that they were able to correctly blend the phoneme that they knew. Before the introduction of Read Write Inc, teachers at our site were unsure if what they were doing was implementing best practice and pedagogies or if it was evidence-based. There was an element of guess and hope, and there was not a lot of tracking of students' progress or intervention to support students. Since the introduction of a systematic synthetic phonics program, teachers are more structured in their approach to teaching. They are confident in the process and pedagogies they are using are evidence-based. They are assured that they are teaching in the Goldilocks spot for each child. Teachers are aware of what has come before and what comes next in the teaching sequence and are better able to track students' progress and provide intervention at the point of need. We have seen students become more confident readers and writers due to the groupings, which is targeted at their ability level. Students are using the phonics skills throughout daily lessons, and the consistent approach has made transitions between classes and groups a smooth process for teachers and students. To summarise, since the introduction of Read Write Inc, a systematic synthetic phonics program, we have seen an increase in the students' results in the phonics screening check, a correlation with what they have been taught through the program and their achievement in the phonics screening check, students being taught phonics in a more rigorous and consistent way, teachers clearly being able to track students' progress to ensure that we identify any students that are struggling before it is too late, and we have implemented Fresh Start, a systematic synthetic phonics intervention program to support struggling readers in our primary years.
Well, thank you, Jess. That was really interesting and lovely to hear those little voices. To finish, I'd like to introduce you to our New South Wales consultants. I'm sure some of you know them well already. They can answer your questions and queries and are available to visit your school virtually or in person and show you any of the resources you've seen today. You can see their friendly faces here. Catherine Stevenson is our New South Wales State Manager, Sam Fuller, Lizzie Robertson and Mick O'Neill. The easiest way to contact them initially is using the email address on the screen, primaryeducation, all one word, @oup.com. Thank you all very much. This has brought us to the end of our webinar. I'd like to thank you all for your time and attendance today, and I hope you have a restful evening. Thank you.